Ladies and gentlemen, visuals coming in that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has now landed back in India. He has returned to the country after his two-day visit to the UAE. Prime Minister also visited Qatar, where he thanked the Emir for the release of the Navy veterans who were sentenced to death for espionage. So those visuals on your screen, Prime Minister Modi touching down back in the country after his whirlwind tour of the Middle East, where he broke new diplomatic ground with the inauguration of the Babs Temple, the first Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi. I'm joined by my colleague Abhishek Jha on the broadcast. Abhishek, so Prime Minister Modi back to the country, back to work when it comes to preparing for the Lok Sabha elections, which are just weeks away. But when it comes to the diplomatic power play, Prime Minister Modi certainly broke new ground.
Well, Ayushman, this was probably the last major diplomatic engagement that Prime Minister was having before the Lok Sabha election process will start, and we'll see a lot of engagement of Prime Minister Modi in the domestic front. But the last visit of UAE and Qatar was, of course, very important, because while with UAE we saw the inauguration of that Babs Temple, the high point of Qatar's visit was the deep trust and mutual collaboration that the two countries are envisaging. We saw just a few days ago 8 Navy personnel have been released, and that was only because Prime Minister's office in India intervened personally in this matter, and Prime Minister had an opportunity to talk to the Amir, and probably he discussed this issue as well. So we saw that concluding in the release of all these 8 Navy personnel. Prime Minister today also, while meeting Qatar's leadership, thanked them for this kind gesture. Besides also, Prime Minister Modi had a conversation regarding energy security, trade gap deficit, how to bridge that gap, education, health, and the welfare of about 800,000 Indians who live and are a part of social economic fabric of Qatar.
Right. At the same time, Abhishek, as we see those visuals, Prime Minister Modi returning to the country after his whirlwind tour of the Middle East, you were pointing out that this is the last diplomatic visit ahead of the Lok Sabha elections. But in the battle of optics, Prime Minister Modi always leveraging foreign policy when it comes to elevating his own brand ahead of crucial elections. This time, as he's batting for his third term, the connection with the diaspora, the inauguration of the Babs Mandir in Abu Dhabi, the first Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi, securing the release of the Navy veterans who were sentenced to death on charges of espionage. It's been a huge victory for Prime Minister Modi on the diplomatic front, but the resonance will be felt with the Lok Sabha elections as well.
Well, just before the election, of course, Prime Minister's visit to the West Asian countries, which happens to be essentially Islamic countries, is also a message to the electorate back home. Prime Minister Modi addressed the leader of UAE as his brother, and also we saw how the leadership of UAE was lined up with 5 of his brothers to welcome Prime Minister Modi. Leader of UAE was also, having a round in the Zayed Stadium, where the major Indian diaspora event was happening. We had seen Al Nahyan just a month ago in January in Gujarat also, where he was participating as chief guest in Vibrant Gujarat. Prime Minister's visit to Qatar also cements India's mutual ties with Qatar. So, in a way, Prime Minister Modi can take these gains or these key takeaways from his recent visit to the West Asian countries to the people when he will be going for, of course, for the polling and the canvassing for his party, that how his foreign policy has been able to ensure India's energy security, how millions of Indians abroad who send a huge remittance also are taken good care of, and they are always in the mind of Indian government. And whenever Prime Minister finds an opportunity, he talks to the leadership as to how the basic social security can be guaranteed for all those Indians who are working for the welfare of the host country away from their own home.
Absolutely. Thank you, Abhishek, for decoding Prime Minister Narendra Modi's diplomatic power play, this coming right ahead of the Lok Sabha election. But